I'm going to call on Ashley Spence, who's right here with us, and she was going to be talking a little bit later, but she's agreed to step in because she's such a crusader and such a warrior, so I know she can do it while they try and sort that out. And I don't want to say too much about Ashley's story because Ashley has an incredible story to tell. She hails from Texas, USA, and you're probably wondering why she's here today, because Ashley is as passionate about change in terms of forensic DNA, how it helped her case, and how throughout the world we should look at this as a global issue, not just an issue that we have in Africa. And Ashley is also very passionate about calling for foreign investment into Africa, which we know we need to really establish our infrastructures and help build on the incredible expertise that we already have here. So Ashley will be reporting on, there was a recent report that she will present where they looked at a few African nations, and they certainly weren't singled out. It was just where information was available, showing the issues and showing how we, through foreign investment, we can really improve situations and help build on these infrastructures. This lady is a true warrior. I've had the great honor of meeting her online over the last few months, but recently in the last few days, I've been able to meet her person to person. Her luggage didn't arrive, by the way, this glamorous lady, until last night. So she spent the entire week bravely just wearing other people's clothes and the clothes that she's had on the airplane and hasn't complained once. And let me tell you, as a lady, that is a hard thing to do when you've flown all the way across the world to present to this amazing audience. So Ashley, thank you for being here. We are so glad to share your voice today, your passion. And I know that it's not an easy story to tell. And we always thank you for the courage as a survivor to be able to share that with us. And the stage is all yours. And thank you for also stepping in right now. Thank you.
Well, karibu. I also share a love for Kenya. I was here in 2019, and it was through the Africa Yoga Project. So I was able to really experience the place. I have friends that are in this room today, and I will say not only is it a beautiful country, but some of the kindest people I have ever met, and the best food. I mean this with all sincerity. It is such a great honor to be here. And the last few days we have gathered with forensic experts, healthcare workers, innovators, and change makers that are on the ground in the EAC and all over the world, trying to put an end to the real pandemic of sexual and gender-based violence. This is a global issue that unfortunately all too many of us, most likely in this room, have had to endure. When I was 19 years old in my home country of the United States, I was the victim of a very brutal attack that nearly took my life. I was asleep in my home while attending university, and in the middle of the night, an intruder came into my apartment, smothered my face with a pillow, and violently raped, beat, and nearly killed me. I endured this torture for hours, and I never saw his face. I was so blessed to have physically survived, but he got away, and on the inside, I was destroyed. Before he left, he told me, "Do not tell anybody. If you do, I will be watching, and I will kill you." I lived in constant fear. But I did immediately go to law enforcement. I had forensic examinations done to try to collect DNA evidence. And it was really, really difficult. Not only did I endure that, but due to societal stigmas in the United States, I think that we share everywhere, I suffered in silence. For 13 years, I never told anybody what had happened. But it was after 7 years that I received a shocking phone call. There was a DNA match in my case. What? I thought, I had given up hope. This man was arrested for an unrelated crime. And when they arrested him in the US, they took a cheek swab, so that's how they do it, of the DNA of his saliva. And we have a national database there, CODIS, and it was uploaded into the database. Hit a match back to my case all those years before. This man was very violent. They found a shed in his home full of women's underwear and driver's license, ID cards from all over the world. I never saw his face, and it was purely through DNA and DNA technology that he is now in the United States in prison for nearly 138 years. But I am here because I know how fortunate my outcome was. But I believe every single victim has a right to at least attempt justice like that. And I know we come from different backgrounds, but this is a model that we should strive to one day achieve in our different ways, all across the world. Ooh, let's see if I know how to do this. Yeah, whatever. So I had this team that was not only through DNA. Oh, there we go. I call them my angels. This was the team that took care of my case from start to finish. Something so rare that I am so grateful for. The police officer, the first person to greet me after this attack. And he treated me with care. He was definitely scared, but he believed me. Wow, that took me to the next step. Because of him, I was able to go have forensic exams and to collect DNA evidence. And as you all know, to endure something like that after a violent attack can be incredibly traumatizing and reason enough for people to not want to move forward. But because of my nurse, who is pictured here, she was trained to deal with trauma. I don't remember the photographs or the examinations. I only remember how she made me feel. I felt safe. The DNA analysts on my case, so it was purely on DNA. When we went to trial, they were able to prove that it was 18 trillion, that's a big number, 18 trillion times more likely it was this man's DNA matched with mine than anybody else. I know that not everyone has access to justice like this right now. But I am here because I am so passionate, because our backgrounds are different. These are models we can strive to achieve. And I have had the great pleasure of being in workshops, connecting with you all that are doing this work. Wangu, you guys are moving this work forward. While I know there is a great amount of work to do, there also must be financial investment. So this takes, yes, education, training, supplies, but it does take financial funding, which is why I am so deeply honored to be here today on behalf of RAINN. RAINN is the largest US sexual violence organization. They provide the national hotline, and they are really survivor-centered with their work. They try to get funding in the United States for crime labs to process DNA and to help with forensic nurses. In 2019, RAINN met with African criminal justice professionals, which is what sparked the idea for this study. They wanted to uncover and see what it was like to have post-rape care, as well as what the DNA infrastructure was like in the 6 nations that they chose. Now, as Vanessa said, this was just a small glimpse, but we're hoping what the research can uncover is not just the obstacles and the trends that we're seeing all along the EAC, but models of hope that we can start to implement. So we know we have a global sexual violence crisis. And while I could sit here and read out the statistics from the research, I think we all in this room know the statistics are not right. Sexual violence and gender-based violence is one of the most severely underreported things. I can tell you from personal experience, and I see people shaking their head, it's not the statistics of maybe 1 in 3 women globally that the World Health Organization says. When I came out of my silence after 13 years and slowly started to tell women that I have known my whole life, or coworkers, what had happened. In the US, they say it's 1 in 5. It wasn't that. 7 out of 8. 7 out of 8 women that I knew and loved had endured sexual or physical violence once or multiple times in their life, and they had never told anyone. I just thought, what is going on here? How can we endure this and live in silence? This has to change. And so we look at that. Why is sexual violence so severely underreported? Well, one of the main reasons, I believe, is the stigmas. If you are a victim, you are looked at to be blamed. It is something where you feel shame. You are fearful of abandonment, not just from societies, but from your family. You want to be held with respect and dignity, but that can be stripped away from you, all just from sharing your story. So we must change that. We must learn as victims and survivors that not only do we need to bravely share our stories, but we need support from everyone to create a safe space to do that. The attitude of sexual assault. I mean, you can read this here, but this is not just statistics from the DRC. These attitudes are echoed all over the world. We must shatter this. We must say no more. We cannot live in fear of sharing our stories for repercussions. And it will take everybody in this room and beyond. Another great obstacle that survivors face is access to post-rape care. So as I was speaking my story, I went to find a connection because what I had was rare, but it's possible. But the way I was treated is how we should all strive to be. The access to post-rape care problems that we see are people walking for days from workshops I was in yesterday, having to hear that you survive an assault. And there is not enough access to one-stop centers or healthcare facilities that are equipped to handle. And in many times, you're missing the 72-hour window that is critical to prevent post-rape HIV. We have a lack of supplies. It's not a lack of will or smart experts. There are so many people doing such great work here, but it's a lack of access to supplies. I also heard some fear of law enforcement. And I also do believe that we find that in the States as well, quite a bit. And many times there is just a lack of understanding, a lack of trauma-informed training. People are unsure of how to handle the situation. But with funding, with training and education and awareness, this can change. And yesterday it was really incredible because I got to hear firsthand the people that are actually here on the ground doing incredible work. Those are the ones that I wish to highlight today. I was really, really excited to hear that at the Gender-Based Violence Recovery Center in Kenya, they had served over 55,000 people since 2001. Incredible. I mean, it is huge. And the Wangu Foundation, you actually are one of my personal heroes too, and she was so brave to share her story. And now she is dedicating her life to helping other survivors to thrive. So I thank you. And the Angel Crisis Center in South Africa, where that really touched me because they are working with children to give them a safe space for healing. And not just for the children, but for their families to rebuild, to step out of stigmas and come together in a safe environment. These are just some of the very few. There are so many people, and I am so deeply inspired. But what we know is not missing is the goodwill and the intelligent and the hard work. What we need is an increase of foreign funding to help increase the scale of reach. Another area that we really need to look at is just the DNA infrastructure. So in order to hold offenders accountable for sexual assault, we must improve the DNA infrastructure in the EAC. We really need to work on looking at the process of collection, using training for this, the chain of custody, ensuring that we can protect the DNA evidence and it is collected by someone who's trained, that there is infrastructure to store it so that it can be actually used down the road. These are areas that are achievable, but again, it takes the investment. So although there are such incredible people and organizations on the ground doing such amazing work, we know that right now we need to have experts come in with you guys and do some foreign investment. It is imperative that we work together right now because this is a global crisis. The work that you all doing, it inspires me so deeply. We might be from different places, but I understand that the work can be incredibly difficult. But we all need to keep going. It is not easy to share my story. It is not easy to do the work that you do. But we're all here in it together, and I thank you. So as an ambassador of RAINN today, we are calling on the United States specifically to provide substantial foreign aid in the 3 areas discussed. And beyond that, I just want to say, as a victim here myself, we must shatter the stigma of sexual violence that victims endure. The shame, the fear, the blame. As victims, we must no longer live in fear. We must be encouraged to bravely speak our stories of truth. And the more we can come together and listen and learn, and the more that we can speak up, the more we are equipped to start this movement of hope and healing. But this will take everybody, everyone in this room, everyone in the online community, and beyond. We need men. We need women. We need survivors of sexual violence and those that have never been impacted directly by sexual violence. We need everyone to come together and say, no longer will we turn our heads to these atrocities. No longer will we live in fear. We will allow victims to bravely speak their truth, and we will create a culture where they can hold their head high and know that they are not to blame. And I genuinely just want to say, the work that you do is huge. And I am so grateful as a victim myself, and I hope that you will continue to move this forward. From me to you, I thank you. Asante sana.
Give her a hug, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I think you had every word, everybody held on to every single word, am I right? Because Ashley represents to all of us, not just Ashley, but as a survivor. When you hear from somebody who actually is on the ground, has experienced the suffering that we're working, the reason we do what we do, it makes us stop and realize we're all human. And that the work we do is not just work, it affects a human being. And that is why we continue to do what we do. And I don't think you're a victim, and you're not even a survivor. You are a crusader. And thank you for crusading. Don't stop. And same with you all. And thank you for coming all this way. And please get foreign investment into the East African community. Help us build these infrastructures, because there's such incredible passion and expertise here, and we can do so much together.
And even Taffy, I see over there from Zimbabwe. And I hope that this is just the first of many, many conversations. And really move this forward genuinely.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions from anybody? Would anyone like to ask Ashley a question? Yes, please. Are you able to maybe give a mic to this gentleman?
Thank you, Ashley, for sharing your story and advocating for funding in sexual violence. My question would be, you spoke about forensic nurses and investigators. What are the steps that are being taken, or what can be done to facilitate that to other people who would need or have interest in joining the practitioner? Like, for example, in Kenya, congratulations to the SGBV for doing 55,000. That's a lot of people. But now I would imagine one of the major challenges is first point of contact for a victim.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lack in that area. And what would you say, or what would RAINN do for people who would want to join forensic nursing or would like to get training? Personally, I would be interested in receiving training as a forensic nurse or just a sexual victim approaching or coming for investigation. That's really crucial. Maybe you can share with us.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing attention to this. It is hugely crucial because if you can create that safety in that environment, I truly believe no matter the outcome, even if you don't have the justice, if along the way the nurses or law enforcement are treating you with care and dignity and respect, you feel closure. I did feel that for almost 13 years because I was treated in that way. And to answer your question, Jennifer, who was my actual forensic nurse on here, she was in the workshop yesterday virtually from the United States, but these are great conversations to have because we even need this back in the US. But it takes training and education, and there's more of a sensitive, like emotion-based approach to this. So you also have to hold a safe space as, for example, a forensic nurse. If the victim or survivor decides that they don't want to move forward, you don't ask questions. You do not pressure. You allow, you complete just as they are, and they are whole, and that is enough. But it really takes education and just training. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. Actually has received a present. She had to receive it early because she needed it. Because she had no luggage, and it was actually useful for her. So, but thank you so much for sharing your story with us, your courage, and we hope that you return to Kenya, and certainly we hope to speak with you in the future. Thank you so much. A little update.